Joining me now, as promised, is Congressman Khanna, a Democrat from California and a member of the House Oversight Committee. There's so much to talk with you about, as always, and we talk a lot. But let me start with some of the biggest news in the country right now, which is coming from your home state of California. I mean, if Texas Republicans redraw their maps to give themselves as many as 5 new Republicans in Congress, which could certainly impact you because you and every Democrat wants to be in the majority. But Governor Newsom wants California to be able to draw new maps that would favor Democrats. Given the circumstances, do you support that idea and this going to a vote for the people of California?
I do. Jen, let's look at the big picture here. Donald Trump is 25 points down on inflation. He is proposing things like a coffee tax, raising the price 20% on every American when they start their morning. People are unhappy. No president who's strong calls up the governor of Texas, calls up people in Florida and says redistrict because we're going to lose. We're going to get blown out in the House if you don't redistrict. That's what's going on. They have totally gerrymandered Texas. And all Governor Newsom is saying, all the California delegation is saying is we have been behind independent redistricting. We want to see that across the country. But we're not going to engage in unilateral disarmament. When you have Attorney General Eric Holder, the biggest champion for honest lines and independent redistricting, saying that we cannot unilaterally disarm, that's a clear signal. And we will actually, unlike Texas, have the voters get to decide on the maps. And it will only happen if Texas goes through with this terrible gerrymander.
This is, of course, a state-level fight, but you have a stake in it, as every other member of the House does. Is there a role for House Democrats in this moment to kind of help rally the vote in California leading up to November?
Absolutely. Well, first, the role is to expose what Texas is doing, which is a total calamity. They're drawing in minority districts together. They are totally oblivious to the Voting Rights Act. And I think California Democrats will speak out about what's happening in Texas. But we all are unified as a California delegation. There have been incumbents. The maps will be public, but they're incumbents who are willing to give up their own districts, part of their own districts, which you never have, for the greater good. And these districts have been drawn in a fair way, and we're going to put the actual districts to the voters. And we're going to say, look, here are the districts. You get an up or down vote on that. They only go into effect if Texas starts to gerrymander. But if we do nothing and Texas gerrymanders and Ohio gerrymanders and Florida gerrymanders and South Carolina tries to gerrymander to draw out Jim Clyburn, I mean, we can't just sit there and say, well, Democrats are not going to do anything.
I completely agree with you. I mean, there has to be, you can't play with one arm tied behind your back, even though nobody wants there to be an arms race here. But the Republicans started, and a lot of the laws in their states make it easier for them to do it. Let me ask you, this was so bizarre today, and I wanted to know what you thought of it. I mean, today in California, during the press conference that Governor Newsom held to make this announcement, the Border Patrol agent showed up outside the event. I mean, the Roybal Federal Building is nearby. That's where ICE has been stationed. It felt like a pretty big trolling move to me. But why do you think they showed up, and what did you make of it?
Well, it's intimidation, and they show up, unfortunately, where there's any congregation, where anyone is saying anything that could be opposed to Donald Trump. I mean, they've been showing up to courthouses where immigrants are going through the legal process, hoping to arrest them. And this is not freedom. I mean, I thought the Republicans used to be the party of freedoms and personal liberties. Now they literally are the party that's calling for the militarization of our streets. It is just an unrecognizable Republican Party. And the Democrats have become the party of freedom and civil liberties.
I want to switch gears. I told you we'd have to talk about lots to talk about, to another issue where you've been taking a leadership role in Congress. I mean, you and Republican Thomas Massie from Kentucky have a press conference set for September 3rd with survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. First, I think this is so important. I've been honored to have some of the survivors on this show, and we'll love to have more. But also, their voices are not heard enough, and that's what this is all about. But can you share more about how many survivors of his crimes you're expecting? What are you hoping to get out of this press conference? What are you hoping people take away from it?
Well, first of all, we want to center the victims because their voices have not been heard throughout the process. First, when Jeffrey Epstein got a ridiculously lenient sentence, they were sidelined. They haven't been they were sidelined when Maxwell was sentenced, and their voices need to be heard and what they want. And what they want, what we're going to hear, is for closure, the full release of the Epstein files protecting victims. There are going to be probably at least a dozen there. I can't go into details to protect their identity, and I want to give them the floor to say what they want. But Thomas Massey and I are going to speak for maybe 30 seconds. It's really about the victims. And this is not about politics. Look, people say, well, why are you bringing this up now? That's just not true. With Elijah Cummings in 2019, many Democrats called for an investigation. President Biden actually allowed for the process to play out. The two courts were ordering the release of documents. And then Donald Trump got up there and said, let's just release it all. And Pam Bondi got up there and said, well, let's release it all. And no Democrat said anything. We said, OK, let's release them all. Then Pam Bondi, the attorney general, said, there's nothing to be had here. We're stopping all processes. Let's just move on. And that's not how this country works. You can't rig rules for the rich and powerful. And this is to center victims again in this whole saga and to call for transparency.
I think it's great that you are doing that, and I would welcome any of them who want to talk more on our show. We'd love to have them. Let me ask you another question about this, because you said you'll move to subpoena the Epstein birthday book when Congress comes back. It's been a long August, but the Congress is going to come back soon. That's the album, of course, of birthday messages for Jeffrey Epstein. And in 2003, that the Wall Street Journal reported includes a note from Donald Trump. That's probably why we're all talking about it. He denies it. He sued the paper over it. Now, the Epstein estate told you they'll release the album if the Oversight Committee issues a subpoena. That's what I understand is the latest here. Are you working on building support for that during this recess? Is that something we could hear a development on in September when Congress comes back?
Yes, we are working to develop support for it. I expect that we will pass the subpoena. The Oversight Committee, as you know, already voted, thanks to Representative Summer Lee's excellent work, to subpoena the Epstein files themselves. The problem there is that it's Trump's Justice Department that needs to comply, and it's Trump's Justice Department that prosecutes whether that compliance will happen or not. So that's going to be a long fight. But the same people who wanted the Epstein files should vote now to be able to get the files from the Epstein estate. And the good news here is they're saying they will comply with the subpoena. Not only can we get the infamous birthday book, we should also be able to get some of the financial records of who funded Epstein, where his money came from. And I'm pretty confident that we're going to get that vote early in September.
We'll be watching for that. And the financial files are a key part of all of this, no question. Congressman Ro Khanna of California, thank you so much for joining me tonight.